everybody, welcome back to the channel. More Hail Caesar faction reviews here as we keep winding our way towards the very end. So I think this is one of the last, if not the last, Byzantine list that we'll get, which is the Comnenian Byzantine list, covering roughly late 11th through 12th centuries for the game. So a couple things to look at here: Alexios I, the First Crusade, Second Crusade, Battle of Livonian, Battle of Beroia. So let's jump right in, because this is another massive list. All the Byzantine lists are like 2-pagers, so there's just a ton of stuff to cover. So on paper, at least, and ideally playing the game here, going to be a pretty big powerhouse list. Again, that like most of the Byzantine lists, really has a little bit of everything and can definitely kind of do everything. Just got to have a good game plan, obviously a good commander running the list, but also hopefully, coming up against opponents that you have the right tools chosen to handle the job. But let's see if they're up for it here. So it is another balanced faction in the sense that we have to have some infantry and some cavalry. And aside from the specifics within that group, we could go essentially like a balanced force of 50% infantry, 50% cavalry, or a little bit more on one side, whatever we want to go towards, a max of 75-25 either way, depending on your preference and what you want to do. So, getting in here, of the infantry, we got a specific one here. No more than a quarter of the non-skirmisher infantry units in the army can be how do we say this? Conteratoi. Of those. We'll get into that unit soon. And then on the cavalry side, again, cavalleroi, up to no more than a quarter of the cavalry can be that particular choice as well. Another restriction here: Latinikoi infantry may not exceed Latinikoi heavy cavalry. So just a lot of little specifics. And then also Slav infantry may not exceed Bulgar heavy cavalry. So a lot of little choices that we have to make one way or the other. But also, again, got to remember, like, if we're taking one thing, we got to double check. Maybe we're not exceeding any other limitations that we have. So a fair few things to remember here. We do have the typical 4 divisions as well. And then another sort of specific part here: Varangian Guard and Household Cataphractoi must be included in the General's Division when present. Makes sense, right, given the history. So let's jump into this monster of a list, guys. So we start off with the heavy infantry Conteratoi in mixed ranks, just your bog standard heavy infantry unit to start with, which again, not a bad way to go. Again, we can only take so many of these guys, but we can also do some pretty solid upgrades to them. So if we want to add long spears and bows, for 1 point, definitely seems worth it. Gives us a little bit of action at long range, so not bad, right? Anytime we can reach out and engage with the enemy before they can get to us, and maybe get that odd wound or two, is always great. We could also pay to make them elite, so basically another 6 points. Now we are getting pretty pricey here, getting into like heavy cavalry territory, but it's going to add drilled and elite. Or if we wanted to, we could instead take like a downgrade, and up to half of the guys could be levies, so for a little bit of a discount, right? So we could just go like discount heavy infantry and have 26 point units that are levies, but still heavy infantry. I do like just kind of loading these guys up, though, and just having a really awesome heavy infantry unit, although we can only take so many of them. The aforementioned Varangian Guards are also awesome, so if we're taking that General's Division, we might as well load up, right? The Byzantine list is here to give us just a wide range of unit types, but also some really awesome things here. So, we can certainly go the quantity route, but some of the quality is definitely wanted and needed here. The Varangian Guard heavy infantry with double-handed axes, we only get the 1 unit anyway, but it gives us that clash of 8, so they can punch pretty hard. We're not here to get ranged attacks really with them, but look at everything we get here for that 37 points in the 1 unit. Drilled, elite, stubborn, and tough fighters. Yeah, pretty badass there. So, and ideally, if we can keep that unit intact without wounds and deliver that to the enemy, they should tear through most things, right? Now, might struggle with other similar like super elite units and stuff like that, but anything like basic units, like especially medium infantry and light, that's just going to be a buzzsaw. They're going to like just melt that and then hopefully break through the opponent's lines and then get into some other shenanigans. So awesome stuff there. The Latinikoi medium infantry with or retainers with spears So your typical medium infantry unit here, but I think where we excel with them, we do pay the extra 2 points, and then we get mixed ranks of spears and bows or crossbows. So medium infantry profile, they're not gonna outlast, obviously like heavy infantry or something like the Varangian Guard coming at them. But it does give us, without having to take a weaker, just pure missile unit, a unit that can do a little bit of work, but also has that pretty good long range of 2. Again, we can start applying some of this kind of stuff in quantity and kind of focusing on certain enemy units that are getting close that we want to weaken a little bit. That makes those fights easier once contact is made. We do get another sort of generic unit here, the Slavic medium infantry with spears and or javelins. Doing some pretty good work here. The Slavic light infantry archers is where we do get our first true dedicated long-range unit, giving us that awesome 3. So definitely worth taking some of those. And then let's get on to page 2. Alrighty, guys, moving on, we have more archers here. Latinikoi light infantry archers or crossbows. Again, just another fantastic long-range option. We don't need really any special rules on these guys. Do still count as light infantry, so we do get that token morale save. You can play around with these guys a little bit, though, on the next unit, light infantry archers. So here we can actually, just for the one unit, field archers as household elite, which really, I don't know if we need to really pay the extra 3 points to have that. We just want them to be able to shoot, so I don't know if we necessarily need that. But interesting idea that we have like an elite archer unit, I guess. If it would be something where they like just strictly are better at shooting or something, would be wonderful. We could reduce to field non-elite archers as small units, which, solid discount there. We're kind of almost getting into like skirmisher territory, which would be coming up next, but just a dirt cheap actual line unit. And then extra to give a small unit of archers slings instead of bows, 1 unit, just for flavor, I guess. If you want to go that route, it's a free swap, so just interesting to maybe feel a little bit of variety. And really, it's been a long time since we've seen sling units, right? Kind of leaving that behind with the more ancient period. But again, plenty of long-range options for the list, and again, some of our major fighting units can have some actual missile capacity so far too. So just a very solid infantry corps. Like if we didn't even go to cavalry, this would just be a fantastic infantry army. But let's keep going. We got a skirmisher package here. Siloi skirmishers with javelins fielded as small units. So again, I've seen that in basically every list since the start of our series here. So no need to spend much time on that. It is what it is. We do get skirmishers with slings or bows, so we can have that as well. So for some more long range, we could give skirmishing bowmen crossbows instead, which presents another interesting option for some different weapon profiles there. And again, we could extra to give skirmishing bowmen Solenarian for 1 unit, which here we go, which would be nice. Marksman for 1 extra point, worth taking potentially. Always like that little ability there. And that's kind of what it would have been interesting to see up there with like the household elite, maybe just having like marksman or something instead of the elite, even though they're called elite. But it's something that just makes them more accurate. Would be nice. Do also get skirmishers armed with staff slings. Haven't really seen much of that, but yet another option. Only 1 unit there as a small unit. So compared to a lot of armies, right? And we saw some on the previous page, but we've got tons of we almost have like a whole army list worth of just dedicated missile troops if we want here. So again, the Byzantine lists always present you with just so many dang options. You can really field exactly what you want, and more or less always in what kind of quantity you want. But let's get into some of the other scarier stuff that this list brings. We have cavalry, the heavy cavalry with lances, so just a good solid standard heavy cavalry unit with lances. We could bring in, we don't necessarily need it. We should be just focusing on fighting. But if we wanted to spend the 1 point, we could have some bows mixed in there too for just a little bit of extra long range damage. And more or less, we'd have just about everything in this whole list to actually shoot in the missile phase too. We could, and here's an interesting one, right? We don't see this really hardly ever. The cavalry could be levies here, right? We haven't really seen that. It's a 3-point reduction, but interesting choice as well for some discount heavy cavalry. Now we have the elite cavalry, heavy cavalry with lances. And here, it's only 1 unit, so again, might as well take it. So we're starting at 39 points. We get that extra punch, right, with 9/6. Drilled and elite, always good stuff. And again, if we wanted to, we could also add that little bit of bow action for another point, getting us to 40. And then what do we got here? And then we could also make them cataphract as well for another point. So that's definitely worth taking. So if we're going to just have that one unit, we might as well load up on everything, get everything. So we got drilled elite, the cataphracts, they got the lances, and they can do that little bit of bow shooting as well. So some really punchy stuff there. The Scythicoi, or mercenary horse archers, as small units. So yet more long-range shooting, 19 points. Again, small units. We could also pay extra to make them the Vardariot Guard, 1 unit. Might as well, 2 points, right? But the basic unit is already coming with Parthian Shot. Always nice to see that on our light archers, our light horse archers here. But then we get Parthian Shot, Marksman, and Stubborn, which is really like super, super good, right? A light, small light unit here that's going to be just there to harass and shoot with Parthian Shot, Marksman, and Stubborn all in one little package here. So good stuff. We get the Turcopoloi, or light cavalry with spears and or javelins and bows as small units. Again, a little bit of cleanup work here. They have that extra little punch at 5, so they can definitely do some damage, finish off some units. Definitely don't want to get stuck in long, but they have feigned flight, so that's always cool too. Similarly to the above, the Turcoman light cavalry with spears and or javelins and bows as small units, so almost competing roles here. For 1 point fewer, these guys will get fierce fighters. So interesting there. And that is a little bit more of an option to get them kind of stuck in, do a little bit of damage, and hopefully finish some units off. The Latinicoi, or mercenary Frankish heavy knights with lances. So again, starting off bog standard heavy, but it's 9-6, right, with the lances. We can pay a little bit of extra for tough fighters, just another point, kind of almost like an auto include, right? Why don't we just have all of them be tough fighters? But then one of those units could have frenzied charge. We don't see frenzied charge that often, but it's pretty special stuff for another 3 points. So potentially worth considering, especially if we just have the one unit. We might as well have tough and frenzied, which crazy. Getting to the end here, Bulgar heavy cavalry. So just again another generic heavy cavalry unit to start with, but we could essentially have them with spears and bows, giving us that much more flexible option again at 32 points, which is obviously a little bit cheaper than some of the other heavy cavalry. So not going to be as punchy necessarily. Obviously, lance is going to hit harder than spears, but they can do a lot of everything, and again, very respectable too at long range. So all that massiveness. Now, interestingly, no artillery or anything like that in this list. Not that it needs it, but it is kind of curious that we're Byzantines. We basically should have access to just about everything out there, but no artillery. But everything's backed up by a solid leadership 8. So this would be way too much to run under the subpar leadership 7 that we've occasionally seen. So leadership 8 here, definitely, I guess, just got to play smart, give good orders. We have everything that we could possibly want at our fingertips in this list. Obviously, we just got to make sure that we're following the restrictions outlined in the description, which shouldn't be too hard. And really, we could, I think, by and large, if we go a very balanced force, we got fantastic infantry that's going to be tough to chew through, some really punchy cavalry options, and just a ton of missile troops all over. And if we do it right, we could even really have the whole force shooting, which is scary because that's just a lot of dice. Should soften up an opponent, which then just makes those fights that in a lot of cases would already be kind of skewed in our favor with just all the stuff we can bring here. That much better when the opponent's basically on the verge of being shaken from missile damage, and then we just punch in and go to town here. And really another force too that, depending on what all we're taking, we have boatloads of special abilities all over the force in all kinds of interesting combinations. And just a fun force to collect. There's just a lot here, a lot of different things represented. So could be an amazing force. Let us know, guys, if you've collected this Byzantine force and played it as far as Hail Caesar rules go, and how that's gone for you. Anything contemporary that you struggle with, I can't imagine, unless it's just coming down to list building choices and in-game choices. Again, a fantastic powerhouse list here in the latter half of the Hail Caesar factions. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hit us up in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel as well, check out the link in the description. If you pick up anything from Warlord there, that helps support us as well. Always appreciated. Thanks so much for watching.